Hey guys, welcome back, Cerebral Syndicate. I'm Excalibur, and I think I left my lantern ring at home today. Anybody seen it? No? Godzilla, you seen it? No? Okay, cool. Well, if that's any indication, we're gonna talk about lanterns today. Not greens, but blues, because blues are pretty awesome, and I don't think blue lanterns get a lot of credit. So, let's talk about the Blue Lantern Corps for a second. So definitely one of the coolest things that Geoff Johns has done has expanded the emotional spectrum. So it wasn't just the Green Lanterns that had will, but then you had rage, you had fear, love, compassion, and then hope, which was the Blue Lanterns. You had greed, and then you have death and life on the end of it. Like, I think I got all the spectrums there. I might be missing one. But you had spectrums now, and they added more amazing characters, and it just started fleshing out the Green Lantern universe, especially because you figured out that this emotional spectrum was actually directly connected to the life force of the universe. So it's like, oh man, this is really cool. They're actually adding a lot of texture to this Green Lantern kind of storyline thing. But like I said, again, we're gonna focus on blues because, again, I don't think blues get enough credit around here at Cerebral Syndicate. They're awesome. But I guess more of the focus is gonna be on one of my favorite Blue Lanterns, or just favorite Lanterns or DC characters in general. It's Brody Walker, or Saint Walker, as a lot of us know him. He was actually the leader of the Blue Lanterns, still kind of is, but we'll get to the still kind of part of it here in a second. But he got his powers, or his lantern ring, he got on his home planet after he decided he was giving everybody hope. He was a priest on his home planet, so he was giving everybody hope because their son was dying, and because he had such an outpouring of that emotion. The ring found him and a few other Blue Lanterns were actually able to reverse the sun dying to save the planet. Very cool. And they just it's just a character that is just really, I don't know how to explain him. He's just cool. He just kind of hangs around, just kind of like, oh hey, everything's gonna be fine. We'll be all right. You know, even in the midst of like all the Lantern Wars and stuff that they've had so far in the comics, and the tussles that he's been in with, you know, Hal Jordan, like, he's like, no, everything's gonna be good, man, don't worry about it. And that's just kind of his creed, you know, all will be well is what you see Saint Walker say all the time. But let's just kind of get into kind of how the Blue Lanterns kind of like exploded into the DC universe. They kind of started out in Final Crisis, and then out of Final Crisis, you see them come into, man, let's see if I'm getting this right. Final Crisis leads into Blackest Day and Brightest Night, where Necron, the leader of the Black Lanterns, is just killing people left and right, draining the emotional spectrum. You actually see a lot of superheroes come back as those dead zombie Black Lanterns that are really creepy. But Brody and his fellow Blue Lanterns actually help with that. Also, at once you get out of that Brightest Day, Blackest Night series, they actually come back and they make a bigger impact when you start dealing with the wrath of the First Lantern. The First Lantern was this crazed astronaut. You never really find out where he's from, even in the series while Geoff Johns was writing it. But he's just this crazed lantern that is obsessed with just taking as much power with the emotional spectrum as he can, because he wants to create the universe in his image. And then you find out that the Guardians that actually created him and were actually the patriarchs of the Green Lantern Corps were actually super corrupt, and they were, you know, and it kind of goes back to the whole Martian, or the whole Manhunters. The Manhunters were made before the Lanterns because they needed to control the universe, and because the Manhunters didn't have any kind of emotion, they didn't have a gauge, and you have the Green Lanterns, and now this whole First Lantern thing comes back and blows up in their face. So Blue Lanterns help the Lantern Corps, Green Lantern Corps, pretty much all the corps. They help them get rid of the First Lantern himself, And then going into after the Geoff Johns series, you have what's called Lights Out. And in that story arc, the Blue Lanterns themselves actually decided to make a pretty big sacrifice. Most of the core was actually destroyed along with their lantern batteries and their actual main power battery. So after that, you just had Saint Walker, and he's just kind of a depressed guy. I mean, what do you kind of do when your entire core gets destroyed? That just took a really dark turn. I'm sorry, guys. But let's kind of lighten it up a bit. Lantern, light up. No, all right, never mind. That was bad. So now let's kind of talk about how lanterns actually affect, or how their powers actually work. Blue lanterns are cool because they're noted as the strongest of the spectrum, but they can't do it by themselves. So they have the main. They can do the flight, they can do like the aura that protects them, they can do like light defensive shields, that's about it. But when you have them in concert with Green Lanterns, because in order to have hope, you also have to have great willpower. So when those two are together, they actually are able to create constructs. They're actually able to do constructs that are only based from their imagination. They can also take it from the target as well too, which is really cool. So they allow you to see what you want to see in their construct form. They can nullify other rings, so they can nullify the fear component in yellow rings. They can also nullify the corruption in red rings as well too, which is really awesome. And in concert with that green ring, they have the ability to heal and actually replace limbs when they're in the vicinity of a Green Lantern, but also kind of the double-edged sword with the Green Lantern is if they're too close to a lantern, or if there's too many blues in concert with a lantern, they can actually overload the Green Lantern rings and cause it to implode. Yeah, that's how strong they are. So, just for future reference, if you decide you want to be a green, don't be close to too many blues, because your hand might come off. That's bad. But anyway, guys, so if you guys aren't reading the latest iteration of Green Lantern, Geoff Johns is not writing it anymore, but they're actually getting ready to fade into another kind of lantern war that is happening. So we're gonna actually start seeing, hopefully we're actually gonna start seeing more of Saint Walker. I think that would actually be really cool as a series. Like, I think they could actually bring back the Blue Lanterns, maybe even give us a blue Earth Lantern, maybe, because I don't think they've done that yet. So stick with me on that. I think that'll be cool. But otherwise than that, guys, like always, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Tumblr, we're everywhere. You can find us everywhere. Maybe, or can you? That's kind of the point. See you later, guys.